I'm Jim Brewer, high school principal, and this is my November podcast here in 2014. And next to me is Mrs. Nickel, science teacher here at the high school. And I asked Miss Nickel to join me today in the November podcast because we're talking a little bit about 712 and the proposal of bringing over the 7th and 8th graders here to the high school. And Mrs. Nickel is on a 712 committee. There are 14 individuals on this committee looking at the possibility of bringing over 7th and 8th graders to the high school. And some of the reasons and rationales we're going to get to here in just a little bit. But before that, I just would like to introduce Miss Nickel. Okay, so Miss Nickel, what has your experience been on the 712 proposal?
Well, Jim, my experience has been very positive. We had I was given an opportunity to go to some site visits earlier in the month, or I guess it was last month, and we had the privilege of touring a facility that is converted to 7 through 12 in the Milwaukee area. And I was very impressed by some of the ideas I saw, the student interaction we saw there, but especially the opportunities for academic excellence. Certainly we aren't lacking that in this district, but it would be, I can see so many future amazing things that could be done bringing our 7th and 8th graders into this building.
Yeah, Ms. Nickel has certainly been doing her due diligence along with the other committee members, putting in a lot of time looking at this proposal, studying it to see if it's something that Northland Pines should do. And some of the reasons why Northland Pines is looking at doing this is we've had declining enrollment. This beautiful building, which I got to thank all the taxpayers and citizens, in providing our students the opportunities that they have with this building. It was built in 2006. When it was built in 2006, we had roughly 580 students. There was 579 when it opened up in 2006, and currently we're at 421. So we have lost quite a bit of students through the years due to the fact that our senior class was much bigger than our incoming class. As an example, last year we had 145 students graduate through Northland Pines, and we brought in 110 with freshmen. So just there we lost 35, and the projection is to continue to go down a little bit with that. So with that, we have a number of empty rooms here at the high school. Along with that, we have one-to-one technology where we brought in Chromebooks a year ago, so we aren't utilizing a couple computer labs anymore, and we reallocated those computers. So we have some spacing issues. Our current structure has a number of staff going back and forth between the middle school and high school, some shared staff back and forth, and with the schedules that we have, even if they were exactly lined up between the middle school and high school, it would be impossible for a middle school student or a staff member to get from the middle school up to some of our areas at the high school in a 5-minute passing time. So what we're having to do is have staff be covered, either at the end of their class there or at the beginning of their class here at the high school. And then what we're seeing is middle school students who take classes, we have 11 of them taking 13 classes, end up being late back to the middle school to their classes, anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes on a daily basis. You add that up per week, they're missing one class day per week, with that. So those are some of the reasons why we're looking at it. Better utilization of facilities here, and this beautiful building that we have, and the impact on scheduling with students and staff. Is some of the reasons that we're looking. So, Ms. Nickel, you went on some site visits. What did you see when you went down to New Berlin?
When I went to New Berlin, I guess the first thing that impressed me was that although they have very, very beautiful facilities, overall I think we have even better. I think we have, you were talking about all this extra space that we have, and it's very true. It's a quite empty feeling here. I think that we have the space, we have the technology in place already to bring the students to a higher academic level. At New Berlin, in their area, I was impressed by the interaction between all of the students. There did not seem to be any sort of issues with younger students versus older. We are looking at it, I know on the committee, and maybe this is something you're going to bring up in this podcast, we're looking at more of a house concept, keeping the 7th and 8th graders in certain areas of the building, although they will, of course, as we know, be walking through the hallways, and there will be some common areas. But even at New Berlin, which didn't seem to have that much of a concept, there really did not seem to be a major issue with the younger children intermingling and being in the common areas with the older children. So that impressed me. It seemed very normal there, like it was just everyday type of thing. And I think no one likes change. We all know that. And I think that this is a change. But I think overall, when we're all looking at it as a district, we need to do what's the best for kids. And that's, I think, where our committee, at least all the conversations we've ever had as a committee together, the 14 of us, that's always what we come back to. What is the best for children?
Yeah. And when you look at some of the data, you can see from the 7-12 schools that their data, they are performing very well.
Yes.
Another site visit that the committee went on was they went to Peshtigo. And Peshtigo is a district more similar to us, I think, than New Berlin district is, where they have around 600 students, 7-12, and that's what we would roughly be if we would go that way. Peshtigo integrates by department. And you mentioned a pod. The New Berlin School District had 7th grade in a house or a pod. New Berlin did not do that. They departmentalized. We at Northland Pines have decided as a committee that we are going to house our students in a 7th and 8th grade pod, which is in the current math area of the high school. And then math would shift over to foreign language would shift to social studies, and we would utilize those spaces a little bit different. Lockers as well. 7th grade lockers would be right outside the 7th and 8th grade pod, along with the 8th grade lockers would be right there. So they would be more condensed. In fact, they would actually be closer than what they are over at the middle school. You know, but this would also afford us the ability to be able to use some of our more unique classrooms, such as band and choir, currently being used 2 hours a day. That would more than double by bringing the 7th grade and 8th grade over. Our family and consumer science classroom, which is only used 1 hour a day, would be utilized more with more students over here. And also our tech ed areas would be utilized more than what they are currently today. Students would have an opportunity to get into the metals fabrication. They'd have an opportunity to get into the transportation area where they currently don't have that over at the middle school. So we're looking at the advantages in that regard. When you were on your site visit to New Berlin, or through discussions that you've had with people, staff, and students, what are some negatives that you might be seeing from 7-12?
I guess I would see it's a big change. Culture's going to change. I think we're very focused on what's going to happen to the 7th and 8th grade culture. We're very concerned. We all want them to stay. We want it to still be a middle school if this goes through. We don't want to simply, this idea of absorbing them into the high school is just not appropriate. I think every committee member, no matter, can agree upon that. And we do have some differences as committee members among ourselves, and we are going to be taking a final vote on December 1st. That and it will be a secret ballot. And are you going to vote yes or no before we even decide are we or are we not going to take this before the board on December 8th? But negatives, I think it's going to be a culture change. I've been in this new building. I've been a teacher here 22 years and in the district. It's going to change. I will have change. The middle school teachers will have change. My department is looking at some very interesting changes because we are in an area due to our sinks and our equipment that we have. We're kind of stuck in one area of the building. And we have beautiful, beautiful classrooms. If you have never been to a Northland Pines High School science classroom, they are literally top of the line. And the 7th and 8th grade students would be coming to those rooms for science. That would not be something that would probably be within their area. But I think change for many, many people it's frightening. But I have full confidence in all of us as professionals that we're going to get this job done for the kids, and it's going to go. I would think it's going to be a little rocky. Some of the committee members are worried about the emotional well-being of the students, and that is certainly a concern of mine. Do they really belong here? Excuse me. With the high schoolers, and I think we've talked about some plans, mentoring programs, things that we're not just going to give lip service, that will be put into place, and the public will be welcome to check up on that. And making sure students, we will have basically, as we were pointed out this morning in a listening session, 3 new classes that would, if this goes through, enter the high school. That's half of the classes at the high school that would be new to the building next year. So I think the teachers many are very, very supportive. I think you do have your folks that are not on board and are going to have to see how it goes. But I think overall, I always put in the forefront of my mind, what is best for the kids? Giving them these world-class facilities at a younger age, I think overshadows everything else.
And that's what we're looking at, is utilizing our facilities, utilizing our staff, so students can have a better opportunity than they currently have now. And we believe we could do that, but we have to do it right, and that's where the committee comes in, and the work and due diligence of all of us as we move forward, if we move forward with this plan. And Ms. Nickel brought up that December 1st the committee is going to have a meeting. And they're going to vote in a secret ballot, and we'll see what happens through that. I have no idea where that's going to go at this moment, but they're going to vote on it and to move forward or not to the board with a recommendation of 712. On December 8th, there's a public meeting that's going to be held where we're going to unveil not only a 712 plan, but kind of a district restructuring plan on December 8th, where the public is welcome to come in the auditorium. Public is also welcome to come in and have been coming in a little bit to some walkthroughs that we've had through the buildings. We've opened that up. We've set up 5 public tour sessions. If families cannot come in during that time, we encourage them to give myself, Jim Brewer, a call, or Dr. Ritchie a call. We'd be glad to give tours. Gave one yesterday to 3 outstanding citizens who were interested in coming through our building and learning more about our potential change. I've held listening sessions with each of our student body classes. I held a session where I gave them some information, and then 8 listening sessions afterwards. We've had middle school staff members come on over to the high schools at the end of the day, so I think most middle school staff members have come on over and taken tours of the high school of what it's like. And we've also set up a number of listening sessions with staff, both middle school and high school, to where we can talk about what are some of the changes that we're looking at, why we're looking at it, and what we could do moving forward if this plan was to move forward. So, Ms. Nickel, have you thought that being on this 712 committee has been a good thing?
I do. It's been an eye-opening experience. It's just, I think the level of work and thought, and I hope who's watching this podcast, excuse me, knows the hours of thought and research and looking at things and fretting and worrying and thinking about what's best and looking at the overall picture, the big picture, what is good for our district fiscally. That's a hot topic right now, although, you know, children always overshadow that, their well-being. But it's been an interesting experience. It really has. Of all the committees and, excuse me, 20-some years I've sat on, this has probably been the busiest, but it's also been the most interesting. It really has been.
Yeah.
So.
It's definitely been eye-opening for myself. It's been all-encompassing as far as time commitment is concerned, putting in the amount of time and resources that are with this. We really want to do what is right for all kids, not just the high school kids, even though we're in high school. We're looking at all kids throughout the district and what is best for it. So, Ms. Nickel, I really want to thank you for giving us some time today to come in for our November podcast, and I thank everybody who's watching this. If you would like to get a tour to the high school, please just contact the high school or contact myself. I'd be glad to give you a personal tour of this beautiful building, see what we've got going on, not only in Miss Nickel's classroom, but in other people's classrooms as well. So I thank you for watching today, and go Eagles.